Hi, it's nice to be able to shoot these videos outside again. You know, as I was setting up to shoot this segment, I heard a whippoorwill about 3 times. It's the first time I've heard a whippoorwill this spring. And us old farmers have all kinds of different things that we go by to know when it's time to do certain things. And we got data thrown at us, and we've got calendars and things, but we've also got things that we observe. And one of my things is that when I hear a whippoorwill, when I hear my first whippoorwill, I know I'm about 2 weeks away from planting corn. So about 2 weeks from today, more or less, I should be planting corn. Now, the reason I'm making this video today is because somebody viewed one of my videos and called me out on a mistake. It was a video I made that was a financial analysis of cover crops and no-till versus tillage. The title of the video was The Cost of No-Till Plus Cover Crops versus Tillage, and I published that on the 11th day of December of 2016. And one of the viewers correctly pointed out that my numbers didn't add up, and I need to correct that here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replay the video and insert into it corrections to the things that are in the video. Here we go with the video as it was originally published, and when there's a correction to be made, I'll just pop in there and make it. I encourage you to watch it all the way to the end because I'm going to add some comments on a few things along the way. Hi. Today I'm going to talk about the cost of planting cover crops in a no-till system as opposed to the tillage system that we were doing before that. Okay, when I talk about this, I'm not going to talk about all of the aspects of it. I'm simply going to compare the tillage system that I was doing prior to 2014 compared to the no-till cover crop system that I'm doing now. I'm not going to take into consideration any other factors than the tillage and the cost of doing that as compared to doing the no-till with the cost of the cover crop seed included. The reason I'm going to approach it that way is because I don't want to bring into this analysis anything that can be debated. The cost of the tillage I can set hard numbers to. The cost of planting the cover crop seed and the cover crop seed itself I can put hard numbers to, so I can do a direct comparison between those two things. The reason that I want to do it that way is because I constantly have people ask me when I talk about cover crops is, do you get a payback from the seed? How do you cover the cost of the seed? Because I have to pay for the seed in the cover crop system. And that's an added input. It's an added expense that goes into it. And rightfully so, farmers want to know where they get that money back. So that's how I'm going to address it. So a little bit of a history lesson here. Prior to 2014, we were in a system where on about 50% of the acres of this farm, we would do fall tillage, which in our case was an inline ripper. I'll show a picture of that here. That's what one of those looks like. That's not our particular inline ripper, but it's one very similar to it. That's what that operation looks like. And then after we would do that operation, we would go across that with a disc and a cultipacker. And I'm going to show a picture of that here so that you can see what one of those looks like, to smooth it down a little bit, because that ripper tends to bring up some big chunks and it's not a very smooth field to go plant a crop into the next year. Then in the spring, before we planted the cash crop, which in this system would have been corn following those operations, would have been a field cultivator with some kind of a harrow behind it, and I'll include a picture of that here too, so you can see what one of those looks like. Again, none of these pictures are the exact machinery that we have here on this farm, and in fact, I haven't used any of those pieces of equipment since the spring of 2014. And what happened was that I became interested in the cover cropping and no-till system, and in 2014, I set apart a part of the farm that I did a strict no-till, no fall tillage, no spring tillage, and just planted corn directly into it, directly beside, in the same field, a portion of that field that was in our usual regimen. And the no-till with the cover crop actually out-yielded. Now, I had been working up to eliminating the tillage off of this farm in the first place because the research that I had done led me to believe that that was the way to go, but I hadn't been able to prove it yet. But in 2014, I proved it. So the last tillage of any kind that was done on this, that has been done on this farm, was in the spring of 2014. The last deep tillage that was done on this farm was in the fall of 2013. Now, that deep ripper that you saw, the price per acre of doing that is $20.45 an acre. The numbers that I'm going to use for these operations is from the Ohio State University's aggregated cost of custom farming for the year of 2016. They interviewed 325 or 350 farmers, I don't remember which, but they interviewed over 300 farmers that do custom tillage work, which means another farmer hires them to come in and do that work. And the numbers I'm going to present are the averages of what they charge for doing that work. The reason I'm using those numbers is to eliminate my personal bias from the numbers, so that the custom numbers supposedly include the cost of maintaining the equipment and fueling the equipment, the labor to operate the equipment, and the wear and tear on the equipment. It's an all-cost included situation, so I'm going to use those numbers, so I've got a dollar-for-dollar comparison that can be translated across any farm, anywhere in this neighborhood, so that I don't have any bias in it. That's why I'm going to use those Ohio State custom numbers for the farm work. For the deep ripping, the number is $20.45 an acre. For the disc and cultipacker following that, it's $14.15 an acre. Then for the field cultivator in the spring, prior to planting the corn, it's $13.55 an acre. If you total that up, that's $68.15 an acre. Okay, here's the first correction. All of the numbers that I stated for the individual operations that I did mention are correct. The total that I came up with them at $68 or whatever number I came up with, it really didn't total up to that. What I failed to mention in there was that when we were under the tillage regimen and doing those things, we also ran a row crop cultivator through the corn, and that has a cost of $11.30 an acre. That was included in the total, but I didn't mention it in the video. And also under that mode of operation, there was an extra spray pass. Now, I included the cost of making the spray pass at $7 an acre, and that's just to operate the equipment. It didn't include the cost of the material that was being sprayed. It's just the cost of operating the equipment, and that was $7 an acre. Now, there was a mathematical error in there somewhere that I made also, but if I put in those two numbers and add it up again, what I come up with is $66.45. And as before, dividing that by 2 comes out to be $34.15. And because I said that under our previous program on this farm, 50% of the acres got that treatment every year, I'm going to divide that by 2, so it's spread across all acres for every year. And if I divide that by 2, I come out with $34.08 an acre. So on any given year, $34.08 an acre was dedicated to that tillage that we did on this farm. Now, the program that I am under now, that I have adopted since the spring of 2014, is a no-till, which means I don't do any tillage anymore. I only plant seeds. And I do herbicide applications. We did that under the tillage operation too. I'm going to address that in a couple of minutes at the end of this. But I don't do any tillage anymore. I just plant seeds instead. And what that means is that after every crop comes off, whatever the crop is, after each crop comes off, I plant some kind of a cover crop seed into it to grow during the fallow years when there's not a cash crop growing. So every acre on this farm for the last 2 years has had a cover crop planted on it. Every acre, whenever there was not a cash crop growing on it, it's had a cover crop growing on it. That's why I divided the cost of the tillage by 2, because that was 50% of the acres that got that treatment, so I divided it by 2 so that on any given year I've got a cost representative number. So all of the cover crop that I plant on this farm, instead of doing the tillage, I put in with a grain drill, which is a planting tool. Farmers know what a drill is. People that are not farmers may not know what a drill is, but it's a planting implement that plants seeds on a very close row spacing. In the case of the equipment I have, it plants it on 8-inch rows. It's basically a solid coverage of seed. According to those same Ohio State University figures, it cost me $16.75 an acre to run that drill. The seed that I apply, if I average it out, I plant mixes, I plant some straight varieties of seed. It depends on what the preceding crop was, what the following crop is going to be, and what the soil conditions are, what I plant into it. But if I take all of the seed that I planted in 2016 and I average it out across all the acres, it comes out to $17.50 an acre. So if I total the $16.75 for the drill and the $17.50 for the seed, that comes out to $34.25 an acre. Back to the cost of doing the no-till as opposed to the cover crop. The one error in there was that I stated the cost of running the drill at $16.75. The actual number that was published by the Ohio State University was $16.65, so that was a 10-cent error. That was the only error I found there, so that brings that total $33.22. So I didn't run my calculator across this yet. I'm going to do it right now. If I take the $34.25 and take away the $34.08, 17 cents an acre. It cost me 17 cents an acre more to put the cover crop in under a no-till regimen than it cost me to do the tillage. So now when I run the new totals, my new total for the tillage is $66.45. Divided by 2 is $34.15 an acre. And when I subtract from that the new number for the no-till and cover crop at $34.15, it actually comes out to 93 cents an acre in favor of the tillage, which means it costs 93 cents an acre more to do the no-till and the cover crop. Previously in the video I had said 17 cents, it's actually 93 cents. Now the question that I always get asked that I alluded to at the beginning of this video is, does the cover crop seed pay for itself? Where do you get the money back from the cover crop seed? Well, I haven't done anything else but eliminate the tillage and add in the cover crop seed. And within 17 cents an acre, I've paid for the cover crop seed.
It's actually 93 cents.
One of the arguments that I'm going to get is, well, yeah, but you have to spray extra burn down herbicide in the spring to kill that cover crop. And that is true. The acres that I would have planted corn into under the tillage regimen, I wouldn't have a burn down herbicide on because I would have used the tillage to knock those weeds back. But under that tillage regimen, it's common in this area, and I was doing it before I switched to this program. I would have applied a fall herbicide to knock down the fall annuals and the winter annuals, things like dandelions and mare's tail. I would have applied a fall herbicide application to knock those weeds back going into the winter, which I don't do now with the cover crop application. So my spring burn down and that fall herbicide application knock each other out. That's out. Is it better to leave it lay bare and let it get wind erosion and water erosion and carbon burning off out of the soil, or is it better to leave it covered and let the roots grow, which feed the biology in the soil, which creates the organic matter in the soil tilth that you need? I'm not going to make that argument in this video. I only wanted to address it costs this much to till, it costs that much to not till and put in a cover crop. Those are the numbers that I've given you. If you found this useful at all, click the like button, click the subscribe button. If you have comments that you'd like to make, I'd be happy to hear them. I'll answer any of them that make sense to me or that I think I'm qualified to answer. Have a good evening.
Now, there's a couple other things that I want to mention as I'm making this video, and they weren't included in the original video, and the reason is that I wanted to keep, if I just go from the tillage that I was doing before to the no-till and the cover crop, what is the cost difference between those two things? A couple of things that I didn't mention that go in favor of the cover crop maybe, since 2013 through 2014, 2015, 2016, and going into 2017, I have reduced my herbicide cost by this year in 2017. My herbicide cost will be 30% less than it was in 2013. Another note is a couple of people brought up things like, you need to just stop using the herbicide and start using a roller crimper to kill your cover crop. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do the other thing. There's something that I want to explain here. If you go making wholesale changes across every acre of your farm when you're in an operation like I am, this is my source of income here. And some of these things don't work the first time out. It takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years to get a soil functioning properly again. I can't just stop doing what I was doing and go all the way the other way and expect to make money. Some of the changes I've made so far have cost me a little yield there, gained me a little yield here. We're talking about my livelihood here. When you come in and say just stop doing the herbicide and go to a roller crimper. Well, I tried a roller crimper. Well, it wasn't a roller crimper. I took a rolling basket and tried rolling down some rye from that, and it's not going to work for my operation. That doesn't mean it doesn't work anyplace else. It means it's not going to work for my operation today. I want to tell you that there's a lot of things that I'm not telling you because I can't prove the numbers yet, and I want to be factual, and that's why I appreciate the person that viewed the video telling me that there were errors in it so that I could come back and correct them. I want to be honest about this, and I appreciate you keeping me that way. Through the course of this process, I've decided that I need to make a video about why I'm still using herbicides, even though I have reduced it by my numbers by about 30%. It's hard to make that an exact number because on some acres I've reduced it 10%, on some acres I've reduced it 50%. I've definitely reduced all my acres by one application of herbicide, but how the amount of chemical and the cost of it works out, it's this acre's this and that acre's that, so I don't want to tell you something until I have hard numbers to put to you. Again, To the person who pointed out my errors in the prior video, I really appreciate it. I hope that this has been useful to you. If it is, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, but you don't have to. Heck, even my own parents haven't subscribed to my channel, but of course, they're 80-something years old and they don't care about YouTube. Have a good evening.